Uh, so this chapter consists of like some of the aspects related to the cost, and there are some types of cost that we will understand. And so what is system design and job order costing? Uh, the first learning objective is understand the context for costing system, and then compute the cost of a specific job, and understand the importance of concept of overhead cost and its computation. Then find out the cost incurred in a job ordering production system over a specified period, and describe the flow of cost through the cost accounting system. Understand the uh, increments and application of overhead cost. Then prepare accounting schedule documenting the cost incurred. Reconcile the difference between actual and applied overhead cost, and prepare the profitability reports for management using information from the cost accounting system. Now, what is the purpose of a costing system? The purpose of a costing system is to accumulate and record the increments of cost and assign the cost to job objects or cost objects like products or customer or division, for example. So what are the products that we have produced for that particular product? There is some cost. So we need to record, we need to calculate that cost. A cost system that should tell you which costs are traceable cost and which costs are non-traceable cost. So here the costing system will be prepared in such a way that will explain you which costs are traceable to the cost object, I mean a direct cost, and that the other one is that tells you how to allocate cost that are not traceable to the cost object. It means direct cost, traceable and non-traceable. So traceable mean, for example, that some units that we are producing, like laptop, like one laptop cost is this much. For that laptop that we have raw material, we have a labor, we have some other expenses. If those expenses, everything is very easily that we can find out and calculate, then that is the traceable. Otherwise non-traceable means direct and indirect cost. So job order costing. So what is job order costing? Many different products are produced each period. Like in period means 1 year. So in 1 year, maybe 1 quarter or maybe 1 month, right? In that period, number of products are produced in one unit, in one factory, in one organization, in one company. So for each product, they need to calculate the different cost. So that's why the job order costing system exists. So products are manufactured to order, right? And the costs are traced or allocated to the job. And cost record must be maintained for each distinct product or distinct job. Means, for example, if there is a one job, then there will be a job sheet, and we will calculate this is the job number 1, job number 2, job number 3, job number 4. If there are four jobs or 4 product, for one job the cost is incurred, right? That we will write for this much amount is that has been spent over here for that particular period of time, and that will be added in that cost sheet. And for job 2, job 3, or job 4, means maybe A, B, C, D, different jobs and different costs that will be calculated separately. So that is the job order costing. And process costing, that we will cover in the next chapter. So now it's a job order costing. Typical job cost applications. Now, special order printing is one of the example. Special order printing, right? Second, maybe building and construction, right? In the construction, there may be different work. Also used in a service industry, I mean a hospital industry. There are a number of services are there. In the law firm, there are number of cases, different cases are there, right? So in those cases, job order cost is used. Applications mean that these areas in which job order costing system is applicable. Now here is one of the example in front of you, and this is a question for you. Which of the following companies would be likely to use job order costing rather than process costing, right? So there may be more than one answer of this question. So what you can do, you can send the right answer in the text box. I can give you 1 minute. Okay, take your 1 minute, and all of you have to participate in the class. All of you should participate in the class. I'm just checking how many that are participating and how many are not participating. Okay. So send answer within 45 seconds, and I give answer in total 1 minute. Yeah, all of you should send answer. Okay, so time is up. Now what you can see, the answer will be here this much. So B, D, and E, right? So this right answer is like architects, means in architect, like there may be in architect company, different design are prepared by different companies, like for different maybe for one room, or maybe high rise building, low rise building, or detached home, attached home, right? So different like maybe for a commercial building, architects. So different services you can say. And for the caterer, cater for the wedding reception, number of things that need to do, number of things in that wedding party. So means a different for example, for that flower decoration, that is a different cost for the flower. And the second is you can say for the movie camera as a different, right? And for the you can say or for food and some maybe for specific ice cream parlor, it's a different ice cream and fruit chart section, that is the different costing. So building of the commercial fishing vessel, right? So this is the different, right? So there are a number of services, the number of products are to be produced or services rendered. So that's why job order costing system will be applicable. All right. So now next we have absorption, absorb, right? So absorption versus the variable cost. So what is the difference between these two? Absorb, right? It should be clear from the absorb. We can, with that we can absorb it. For example, here managers need to decide to use both fixed and variable cost when calculating the cost of product, only only the variable cost. Okay, so this is the duty and the responsibility of the manager there, that manager will decide, right? And the decision will be taken on the basis of the cost, means a fixed cost or variable cost. If we talk about the absorption cost, and that include a fixed and variable both, right? That is a fixed and variable cost, including those. fixed cost as well as variable cost. Fixed cost may be the rent of the building remains same, and variable cost may be the packaging material for per unit. That will be the variable cost. So in absorption cost, both are included and used to determine the profitability of the product. So in this case, this cost will be used to find out the profitability of the product, and common in many businesses and require for external financial reporting and tax reporting. Right. So in the variable costing system, uh, include only variable cost and used when management want to determine the additional cost of extra unit of the product. Right. So managers or management want to find out the additional cost of extra unit of product. Means if the extra unit is produced, what will be the additional charges for that? So they need to find out, they need to calculate it. Fixed cost are seen as a not relevant in this case. In the variable costing, fixed costs are not relevant, and that we will be examining in the later chapters. Okay, so now look at this. If in the second case, a key management, important management decision number 2. So in this case, normal versus actual costing approach. Normal versus actual costing approach. What is that? So manager must decide whether to use the normal costing system or actual costing system. Normal costing system is manager use the budgeted overhead cost and apply them to the product. Right. So budgeted, there is the budget, right? Budgeted overhead cost and applied to the product. Budget means we can say this is not actual, means that is estimated, you can say. So actual overhead costs are never assigned to the product, and therefore these costs do not flow through the inventory account. So actual costs are not assigned, only the budgeted costs are assigned. So definitely that will have to reconcile the normal cost and actual cost at period end. It means we need to find out, we need to check it, we need to adjust some of the cost at the end of the period, right? So here, this is the normal costing, means you can say budgeted overhead cost. Actual costing, manager allocate actual overhead cost to the job. Maybe if there is a particular job, at the end of the period, there will be the manager will assign that actual cost. I can give you one example. The budgeted cost, for example, budgeted cost is decided on the basis of the previous year data, that there was around $10,000 that may be the expenditure, but in reality it was 12,000. So it means at the end of the period they will consider budgeted was 10,000, actually is 12,000. So $2,000 cost is like over costing, means extra cost. Over cost. So that over cost, definitely this is the expenditure of the company, right? So that cost is mean that expenditure. So that expenditure will be added in the total cost, and vice versa. For example, the budgeted was 10,000 and actual cost happened and they calculated at the end of the period, that is the 8,000. So in this case, 2,000 is more estimated. So the 2,000 was more estimated will be subtracted in the total cost. So that is known as reconcile the normal cost and actual cost at the period end. Now let's see next point. Okay, so now what is the meaning of a job here? So here the job means here we can say direct material, mean traced directly to each job. Job number A, job number B, job number C, job number D. Direct labor, exactly the same, traced, can be traced out, right? Okay, so overhead applied to each job using a predetermined rate. predetermined rate, which is the rate which is already fixed. Already we have that rate in our mind, right? So that is the job cost, job order costing system. So OH is overhead, manufacturing overhead. Now, if next we say the sequence of events in a job order costing system part 1. So what is the system here? The first is receive order from the customer. Now this is the first step, and after then schedule the job. The order that we have received one order, then schedule that order. Now schedule that job. So that job should be done in a particular way and in a particular time, because customer might have order like I want this much of product in 30 days. So the schedule the job, then whatever the job schedule is, the first step, next step will be order of material. So once the material is ordered, that we receive the material, then we can start production. This is the normal process that we do, right? So a sequence of the job in a job order costing system, that will be, for example, job 1, job 2, job 3. So here, so charge direct material, direct labor cost to each job as work is performed. For example, for job 1, some of the keyboard and mouse, keyboard is prepared. Job 2, mouse is prepared. And job 3, for example, this is related to mouse pad is prepared. So mouse pad is different, mouse is different, keyboard is different. So direct material for the mouse, direct material for direct labor for the mouse, that will be added here for the job 1. So here we are talking about the direct charges, right? So direct material for the job 1, job 2, and job 3. Direct labor for the job 1, job 2, job 3, right? And manufacturing overhead, that will be, so manufacturing overhead, that will be calculated. So manufacturing overhead, sometime we can say this is, sometime we cannot determine that one. That is related to job 1 or job 2 or job 3, but we can say direct material, that may be for the job 1. Direct labor, some of the employees that we say, okay, to go and produce 500 mouse. Okay, so this is their duty. Second labor means second employee, the job is assigned, okay, go and prepare a mouse. And the third one, that may be some other product, right? So different products are different labors. So direct labor can be assigned for the person who is in charge for producing mouse. Will be the cost will be allocated to that mouse, right? Means will be added at the time of calculating what is the total cost of preparing that mouse. That will be the expenditure, and that the direct labor will be added, direct material will be added. But for manufacturing overhead, so manufacturing overhead, that cannot be calculated directly, so will not be calculated. So now in this case, so first of all, that we have here direct material and direct labor to each job as work is performed. Now next is a sequence of jobs in a job orders costing system part 3. So in this, what is that? In this, we say in the part 3, apply the overhead to each job using predetermined rate. Now we determine the rate. This is the rate. Okay, so now manufacturing overhead will be charged to job 1, like keyboard, then mouse and mouse pad. 3 job 1, job 2, and job 3. So this will be done. Now next, the primary document for tracking the cost associated with a given job is known as job cost sheet. Right? So what is the performance of a job cost sheet? Definitely we will have some number, right? Some description will be there, right? So how we will be able to know that? I'm just going to show you right now. Look at this. So this is a job cost sheet pro forma, and one example that is in front of you. Now we have here job cost sheet, and the number is 202114, and this is the initiated date, initiated, then date completed, unit completed. Okay, and department is the commercial department, and description is some renovation, and direct material, direct labor, and overhead. So we have here some of the information. So from material requisition form, so there will be some material requisition. Requisition means material purchase form. So from the material purchase form, the sum of the amount that definitely will be written here. If you look at this, a material acquisition form is used to authorize the use of a material on the job, on the particular job. How much material is used, right? So that will be calculated. So look at this. What I'm going to explain, I'm just going to explain about this one, that 20214. So this is what cost of material is charged to this job, right? So this job. So look at this. Here you can see that 202114. So this is a job cost. So, and what you can see here, material requisition form. Go back. This is what material requisition form. Here the material requisition form that you will see the pro forma here, material requisition form. On the basis of this material requisition form, whatever the amount you will see, that amount will be and should be placed here at this particular box, like under the amount, right? Okay, so how to calculate? So this is a job number, this one, cost of material is charged to this job, and we have something description over here. And for the description, we read like 2 by 4 and 12 mm, 1 by 6 12 mm. This is like a type and quantity and a total cost of a material charged to this particular job, and authorized signature of this person. Quantity is this month, cost is this month. This is the total cost of 116, right? So this is $116 that we find. Why go to all the trouble to find out the material acquisition form every time someone needs material for a job, right? So what is the reason that why that go to all the trouble every time they need to go and see to fill out the material requisition form? Oh, this is the material is required for this job. Material no doubt is the same. Just try to understand, material is the same, right? Raw material is there, plastic is there, right? So from the plastic, raw plastic, maybe there may be some plastic ball or something, and from that plastic, the plastic is used for job one and for making a keyboard. Same plastic is used for job 2 for creating mouse. Same plastic is used to create a mouse pad, for example, right? So in this case, that raw material is used. So in that, we will create a requisition form every time, right? Though we need it. So why we do that? The reason being to maintain the control of assets. Second, to prevent pilferage and loss and waste. Sometimes we need to know, like there should not be total loss. There should not be some wastage or deteriorations of some material, and also to prevent supervisor from stock piling material, just in case the stock room runs out. For example, here this is just for the supervisor roles, right? So supervisor should know where the material is there. There should not be shortfall of the material, and they should know the material is used for some particular job, maybe job A, B, or C. Then next reason is the trace the cost of material to particular job. This is the main reason. The top one is maintain the control of assets. How much material is left? And here, trace the cost of material to the particular job. The material requisition form, like all the others illustrated today, can be electronic rather than hard copy. Okay, so now this is not be hard copy these days. It's electronic. Just email is sent, and then information that will be given to the supervisor, and from the supervisor to the in the factory. They will have that material with them. That will be in the work in progress. That will be the work in progress. Sometimes, like at the end of the period, they will find the closing stock of the work in progress. Then they will find the exact picture. Now look at this. So $116. X76890. This is the REQ number. REQ, what is that? REQ number, you can see that this is REQ. It's the requisition. So X76890, and here X76890. This is a requisition number. So direct material that I used for this particular job is this one. Now the cost summary, direct material, this one. Exactly, the direct labor and direct overhead will be calculated in upcoming pages. Now, I'm just going to start with the direct labor. So direct labor is here, work to use timesheet to record the time spent on each job. So for example, that the owner is going to give a salary to the employees on hourly basis, daily basis, or whatever, right? So that sheet should be prepared. So for that sheet, again, what will happen? There will be some timesheet. So timesheet, this is the timesheet number, this is the employee name, this employee worked on that particular job. So start time, end time, spend time, rate, amount, and this job. So for this particular job number is this job, and same job here, and total is 160, and total is 8 hours. 8 into 2 is 160. So now, if you see in the next slide, you will see that this is 116 is the total here, and you can find the direct material and the direct labor, and total cost will be 276. Now this is the direct material, direct labor. Now next is the overhead, which is very, very important. Overhead. Look at this. Now, how to apply the overhead? Means application of overhead. Overhead must be included on the job sheet, since overhead is the cost of the job. Yes, definitely we need to. However, determining and find out or calculating the amount of overhead, a specific, means job A, B, C, specific job consumes is very difficult. So overhead is the indirect cost first. I mean, overhead consists of many different items. For example, in the overhead, in the first part, if there is the keyboard is to be manufactured, in the keyboard there are some wires are used. In a mouse, some wires are used, but that is the different. That is different. But something is same. But how we will be able to calculate this indirect cost, right? It's not a direct, it's indirect cost, manufacturing overhead. So some nails, so for example, here some glue, some other things are that they are making, their glue is used. So glue may be used for one product, and glue may be used for another product. So the output may fluctuate, but overhead tends to remain relatively constant due to the fixed cost. Okay, so now let's see next. The need for predetermined manufacturing overhead rate. So why there is the need for predetermining manufacturing overhead rate? So there should be some manufacturing overhead rate that should be calculated beforehand. Using the predetermined rate makes it possible to estimate the total cost or total job cost sooner. actual overhead for the period is not known until the end of the period, as I explained at the beginning, right? So but this is the normal, this is actual. So we will find out the normal. So right, let's see. If we wait until the end of the period, we will know the actual total overhead cost. Yes. However, still we won't know the actual overhead cost of a particular job, because the overhead consists of costs that are either difficult or impossible to trace to the particular job. For the particular job, it is very difficult to calculate, to find out. It's very difficult. And also difficult to trace cost include the cost of indirect material, like glue in the furniture factory. For example, there is a furniture factory and some glue is used, right? So glue is used. So like it is very difficult to trace how much glue is used for a number of chairs, number of tables. So impossible to trace cost include fixed common cost, like the property tax on the factory, building, and land. So property tax is there, maybe like $5,000 property tax is there for that particular factory building. In the manufacturing, at the time of manufacturing, at the time of production, 5,000 is a property tax. So property tax, how that property tax will be added in which part? Maybe creating some chairs or a tables or a couch, maybe dining table, right? Or maybe some other things like maybe a carpet or a computer table. So it will be very difficult. Means not difficult, is impossible to trace, right? So if it is impossible, it doesn't mean that we will not calculate. Definitely we will calculate. So that how to do this one? Look at this. Allocate base of overhead cost. What will the base for that? How we can apply this one? So allocation base should be a cost driven of the overhead. A cost driven is what? A cost driven is the factor that cause the overhead cost. So for example, cost driven. So cost driven means machine hours, direct labor hours, then maintenance hours, right? So these are the cost driven factors that we will apply. So machine hours, labor hours, direct labor hours, maintenance hours, that we will calculate. So the base need to drive the overhead cost. The base is required to calculate the overhead cost. Now look at this. The predetermined overhead rate, POHR, PO mean predetermined overhead. OR means OH mean overhead, R for rate. Used to apply overhead to job is determined before the period begin. Now, for example, on the 1st of January, that we are going to calculate. We are going to calculate the rate first, overhead rate. So predetermined overhead rate at the beginning of the period, we should have it, right? So now how and what is this? Here you can see one formula that is in front of you. The formula is saying estimated total manufacturing overhead cost for the coming period divided by estimated total unit in the allocation base for the coming period, right? Now estimated, we are going to estimate this one. So this is estimated, budgeted. estimated total manufacturing cost. This will be ideally the allocation base is the cost driven that cause the overhead. So cost driven. Let's take in one example. Calculating the predetermined overhead rate is assuming that our company had estimated the total manufacturing overhead cost for the period to be 630,000 and had estimated the total direct labor for the period were going to be 28,000 hours. Two figures are given. This is not actual, first of all, this is assumption. This is assuming that our company at the beginning of the time, our company just estimated that total manufacturing overhead cost only for the total manufacturing overhead cost, not the direct material and direct labor. That we can calculate easily. But for the overhead cost means like taxes, maybe some glue is used, some material is used, right, for making different products. So if estimated cost for making all the products, all 4 products are there, estimation that is prepared like $630,000, that will be the estimated overhead cost, meaning manufacturing overhead cost for the period this much. And now there should be some base. So what should be the base? How we will be able to define, right? The base here is that is also estimated that the total direct labor hours, how many labor hours in total for that period were going to be 28,000 hours. No doubt, if the workers are working in the company, that will be number of hours. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 10 workers are there, 8 hours daily. 8 into 10 is 800. Let's say they worked here for maybe 200 days, right? So 8 into 10, so 8 into 10 is 80 into, let's say they worked for 200 days in a year, 16,000 hours. So here in this example, 28,000 hours. The result will be POHR, predetermined overhead rate, is calculated, that is 22.50 per DLH, means labor hours. So this is in front of you. So 630,000 divided by 28,000 hours. DL, direct labor hours, that we have taken as a base, direct labor hours. Okay, so overhead applied. Now next step, overhead applied. Now we have calculated this much. We have calculated this much, 22.50. Now we want to apply it in the next step. Overhead applied is equal to POHR, predetermined overhead rate, means 28, means 28 point something that we calculated. Yeah, 22.5. Yes, 22.5 into actual activity. So once the activity will be performed, what will be that? So based on the estimates and determined before the period begins. Okay, now actual activity, actual amount of allocated base, such as unit produced, direct labor hours or machine hours incurred during the period of time. It means the allocation base may be one of these 3. Number 1, allocation base may be unit produced, how many units were produced, or maybe the direct labor if we want, or maybe the machine hours, how many hours the machine was used, right? So during that period of time. Now look at this example. Now again, coming back to the job cost sheet, We can see direct material 116, direct labor 160. Now we know that 8 is the direct labor hours we have already done, and this is that we have calculated based upon the previous example. So 8 hours into 22.5 per direct labor hour, DLH, direct labor hours. So in this case we have 180 and total will be 456 that we have calculated. 456. This is the total cost. This is the total cost that we have here. Right. So okay. So next slide, I'm just going to show you that will be related to the unit cost. Unit cost. What will be the unit cost that we will calculate here, right? For example, 456 we have. Now 456, and after that we have unit completed 2. Let's say that at the end of the month, like a 2nd of March 21, date completed 3rd March of 21, mean end of the day, maybe after one day. In one day, this much of amount, this much of labor, this much of material, labor and overhead that we calculated. Okay, so now if this much is calculated, then 2 units were produced and 228, that will be the unit cost. What will be the cost of this? That will be the 228, right? Okay, now next is the question. So one question is in front of you. What you need to do, I'm just giving you 2 minutes. So take 2 minutes and send me the right answer in the chat box. Start. If the number of wooden crate is just a wooden base crate, right? In the order on the previous page is increased or decreased by 1 unit. If 1 unit is increased or 1 unit is decreased, what would you expect to happen to the total spending of renovation 1? So what will happen? My question is, if for example instead of 2, if it is 3 units, then what will happen to the total spending? I mean, total spending probably change by less than 228, or maybe change by about 228, or total spending would probably change by more than 228. So just think over it and send the right answer. Okay, so I can see that different answers, but what is the right answer that is coming in front of you? Just imagine, go back a little bit and see uh, if instead of 2, if it is increase. The question is if increase means wooden crate. So wooden crate is created. If it is increased, let's say if it 2, if it is like 3, and like 4, 5, 6, if we divide by 3, then that will be 152, right? So 152. It means there may be some variation, right? So let's see the answer is definitely the cost will be less. So definitely the cost will be less. Look at this. So the total spending would probably change by, definitely that will be less than 228. The cost, instead of, like, if you see, look at this. If we say that this is 456 divide by 2, this is 228. 456, if divide by 3, then it will be 152, right? If 456 divide by 4, then it will be 114, right? So accordingly that will change. That will change. So total spending would change by 228 only if all of the cost were variable with respect to the number of unit produced. If in case, if all of the cost is a variable cost, if we are talking about the variable cost, hmm, then definitely the total spending that would change by 2 to 8. Direct material, we know that is a variable. hmm. Direct material is a variable, but much of the overhead, and perhaps even direct labor may be fixed, right? So let's see the next. So this is another example in front of you. Look at this example, and I'm giving you 3 minutes to answer this question. So here 200 is the direct material, 10 is the direct labor hours at 15 per hour. And estimated total cost for the year was 760,000, and estimated direct cost hours were 20,000. What would be recorded as cost of job WR53? This is name of the job. Okay, so what is the right answer? Send me in the chat box. Okay, so different answers I can see, right? Okay, some of the students have given the right answer based upon their previous understanding. Good. Uh, okay, so now how to calculate this one? I'm just going to explain how to calculate. We are going to calculate what is the total cost. As we calculated direct labor plus direct material plus overhead, the three things that we will add, and that will be the total cost. Okay, here $200 is direct material, which is already given. So 200 plus 10 direct labor hours at the rate of 15. So 10 into 15, 150. So 200 plus 150. So 350 that we calculated. Now, number of hours. So number of hours that we have, that will become the base for the overheads. So estimated ETH, estimated total overhead for the year is a $760,000 divided by estimated labor hours 20,000. If we calculate that estimated overhead, means overhead cost mean some electricity expenditure, some glue, or something like taxes, building tax, property tax. So all these, total of all these, so these are known as overheads. So estimated overhead, apart from the direct labor and direct material, we have overheads. So that is $38 per hour. So number of hours were 10. So 380 plus 200 plus 350. So that will be the total cost, 730. So how we have calculated, I'm just going to show you right now. Look at this. So predetermined overhead rate, POHR. So POHR, predetermined overhead rate, is this much. This is estimated, and this is also estimated. So is equal to 38 is estimated per hour. Okay, direct material, direct labor. So direct material is the $200 we have. Direct labor is 15 into 10 is 150 we have. So now 10 hour, that will be the base for the manufacturing overhead if we want to calculate. Okay, so manufacturing overhead, that would be, so POHR into number of hours. So POHR is 38 into 10 is 380, and total of all these will be the total cost. Okay, now next question. So next question is in front of you. So I'm giving you 3 minutes, and you need to calculate the cost of the job, WR53. Time start now. So all of you should give this answer. All of you. Time starts now. So make some calculation. Exactly everything I have explained in the previous question. The same method, same procedure that you need to implement. It's very simple, not too hard. It's a very simple calculation. Yes, very good. It's a very simple calculation. So you have 1.5 minutes left. So I'm expecting that all of you should give and try to give the right answer with your own understanding, with your own calculation. Do your calculation on your mobile phone, then give the right answer. The hint is direct labor plus direct material plus overhead. So overhead always will be based upon uh, number of unit machine hours used or labor hours used. Maybe one of these, right? So here we are using labor hours, right? So I have given you the hint. Okay, so time is up. Now I can see some answers. Right. So what is the right answer here? 750 is the right answer. 750 is the right answer. So how we have calculated, you can see here the explanation in front of you. Predetermined overhead rates 40. Then we have direct material and labor. So manufacturing overhead. So manufacturing overhead we have, so 400 and total will be 750. So this is overhead. When overhead is the variable, right? Sometime if overhead is a fixed, means if $100 is $100, 200, 200, irrespective of the other things or units, then what will happen? Uh, Look at the next question. So next question is in front of you. Think over it. I'm just giving you 3 minutes. Time start now, and all of you should try to solve this question. Think wisely and logically. If overhead contains a fixed cost, right? It means cost is fixed. When cost is fixed, number of units are produced up and down. There will be some changes. So what will happen to the predetermined overhead rates? If lower unit sale volume is expected, if lower sale unit is expected, so what will happen to the predetermined overhead rate? So you have 1.5 minutes left. So think over it and give the right answer. So all of you should write the right answer. Okay. So option A, B, or C. Just think over it. If 2 units are produced, or if 5 units are produced. If 5 units are produced, the cost of unit will be up or down. If like from the 5 to 3, if expected uh, was like 5, but is lower than expected, maybe 4 or a 3, right? So the cost overhead, meaning the expenses, predetermined overhead rate will increase, unaffected, or decrease. This is the question. 30 seconds are remaining. 30 seconds are remaining now. I expect answer from all my students. Yes, very good. Okay, so time is up. So look at the answer. So answer will be A. So answer will be A. Why A? Because let's say if the fixed cost is there, if the overhead cost is fixed, it means if units are produced, 2 units are produced, then this much is the cost. If more units are produced, then definitely cost per unit will be less. If I say there are some fixed expenses means electricity bill, no, not, it's a rent of the building. So rent of the building is the 5,000 every month. Okay, or rent of the X-ray machine is $10,000 per month, right? X-ray machine is too costly for the hospital, for example, and $10,000 they are paying, whether the patients are less or more, but they have to pay this much. If the patients are more coming, like if the more and more patients are coming, definitely the cost will reduce. If only 2, 3, 4, 5, or 100 patients are there instead of like 200, then definitely more cost. So in this case, if the volume is low, quantity is low expected, then definitely the cost will be high. This is the reason. Now look at the next question. If overhead contain fixed cost, and what will happen to the product cost computed by the accounting system if the lower unit sale volume is expected? What will happen to the product cost? In the previous example, it was what will happen to the predetermined overhead rate. Now what will happen to the product cost? Total product cost. What will happen if overhead contains a fixed cost? If lower sale volume is expected, what will be the product cost? Right answer in Write your right answer, right? Choose one option from these three quickly. Choose one option from all these. So the possibility is the product cost will likely increase. Product cost will likely increase.